So we are now going to talk about exponent rules. When we are doing our exponent rules, there are several different rules we have to follow, obviously, because they're called exponent rules. For the first one, adding and subtracting, we combine our like terms and we do not change the common exponents or variables. So we notice x squared, y, y. Since they're the same, all we need to do is worry about the constant or the coefficient. So we would have 9 minus 10 x squared y. And 9 minus 10 is going to give us negative 1 x squared y. Or we could just say negative x squared y. Subtract 6 from w, which means we are taking it away from the second one. So we would have 8w minus 6w. We could also call that 8 minus 6w, which is going to give us 2w. Product rule, this is when we multiply. I'm sorry, we don't multiply here, we're going to add. Meaning we would have x to the a plus b. So over here, we would have h to the 2 plus 6, which means we're going to have h to the 8. And down here, notice we have coefficients, so we're going to do this. We're going to leave our coefficients the way that they're written. So we would have negative 2 times 7. And then we're going to put our a's together. So we would have a to the 2 plus 3. And we would have b to the 1 plus 1. 2 times negative 7, negative 2 times 7 gives us negative 14. 2 plus 3 gives us 5. And 1 plus 1 gives us 2. Power rule is multiply. Or we could call it distribute. So what we're going to actually have here is x to the a times b. So when I look at our example, we're going to have x to the 2 times 3, which is x to the 6. If we had a coefficient, we would multiply our coefficients together, but we don't. So we would just leave that as negative 2. Actually, we have to take this and multiply it in. So we would have negative 2 squared. And then we would have m to the 5 m to the 5 times 2. Let me put this negative in parentheses. And then we would times m to the 3rd. So this has a few steps. 5 times 2 gives me 10. So I would have negative 2 squared gives me 4. M to the 10. M to the 3rd. And I'm going to add those top exponents. We would have 4m to the 13. Quotient rule is when we are going to subtract. And we do top minus bottom. And again, make sure that you treat your coefficients like normal. So we're going to keep this as 27 over 42. And then we would have x to the 5 minus 1. 27 over 42. Each of these reduced by 7. They each divide by 7. 27, I'm sorry, I can't speak. Each of these divided by 3. 27 divided by 3 gives us 9. And 42 divided by 3 gives us 14. So our new fraction would be 9 over 14. And 5 minus 1 is going to give us x to the 4th. Not a 9, a 4. Down here, first thing we need to do is worry about this, which means we're going to multiply. So we would have y to the 2 times 2 divided by y to the 4th, which means I have y to the 4th divided by y to the 4th, which is going to give us y to the 4 minus 4, which is going to give us y to the 0 power, which we're going to talk about down here. But anything to the 0 power equals 1. Our negative exponent rule is basically fractions. So instead of negative a, we would have a fraction, and x to the a is on the bottom. Now again, remember, if there is a coefficient out front, so like there is technically a 1 here, the coefficient goes up top, the rest goes on the bottom. So we would have negative 5 divided by x over 2, or we could say negative 5 and 1 over x squared. Here, first thing we're going to do is the 4 over 8. And then we would have k to the 2 minus 5. 4 over 8 gives us 1/2. And 2 minus 5 gives us negative 3, which means we would have 1/2 k to the 3rd. 0 exponent rule just means that this equals 1. So over here, x to the 0 is going to give us 1, so we would have 7 times 1, which is 7. Up top, first thing we need to do is multiply 4 and 2, which means we're going to get 8 over 8, which means we have w to the 8 minus 8, which is going to be w to the 0, which equals 1.